Imagine an alien watching Melrose Place, like, and being like, "This is how these creatures acquire their nutrition."
So let's put them up.
We're cheersing again.
Solid coffee cheers.
I love it. Mm.
Hello and welcome,
Very
Melrose
fun
Maniacs.
episode. My gosh.
We're gonna have some fun today on Melrose Madness, talking about episode 7 of season 1. Of course, I am Wayne, and Lisa is with me, and she is fantastic.
So
I believe.
Are you. Thank you. I believe that as well about both of us.
So yeah, episode titled "My Way."
Is that right?
And just overall impressions. Anything that you want to talk about first? What really jumped out? What did you get?
Oh, I had a lot of fun this episode because the episode was kind of wild. Because I feel like there were a lot of scenes where nothing happens, and there were a lot of scenes where too much happens. So it was really fun to watch. We get some really great physical pratfalls in this.
Thomas Calabro does some amazing. There's a pratfall in the kitchen. We want to talk about the food, but we really should talk about the pratfall.
Oh my god, the pratfall is amazing.
Yeah.
We're witnessing our first scheme, I believe, which is a really amazing moment for the show, a watershed moment, if you will, because schemes are the foundation upon which this apartment complex is built.
I think that should have been the tagline for the show. For our regular listeners know that this is a spoiler-free podcast,
spoiler-free
with the occasional spoiler episode where we look long-term. But I think that you're saying. What we will do as we go along is hang a lantern on certain things.
Yes.
So, if I may, in addition to the first scheme, we have the first bad dad and the first business daddy.
Oh my god, I love a business daddy.
Billy's dad, guys, Mr. Campbell, William Campbell Sr., I take it, played by Malachi Throne, and... bad dad. He's a bad dad.
He is a bad dad, and you are absolutely right. And again, this is not really a spoiler. But a lantern moment of just, guys, please pay close attention to whether or not dad is a good businessman. Dad's
just a monster.
Just a monster.
Some like the ratio of just decent human beings to absolute monsters among Melrose Place fathers, more so with ladies.
Yes, and I have to say, again, not a spoiler, just if you know, you know, the one good dad, I have to say the children are baffling. The children are quite baffling considering they were, although... I don't know what moms do.
Okay, we should do a spoiler sometime just based on this one character. Okay. But yes, there's an arc for him of just what his daughters inflict.
I want to see this person's show.
The rest of his life.
Perspective.
The way producer Ilana and I saw it overall was that, if you're just talking storyline, narrative, plot, that this was about change, but then not.
Yes, it's. You know what? That is a really great way to phrase it, because I do think that it hints at the growing momentum of the show's storylines, but they're still so weirdly tentative.
It's like they're galloping and they pull the reins in.
Like Sandy was supposed to take a big leap, and at the end, a lot of times the big decision is, "Hey, I'm not going to do it." You're like, that's so.
Yeah.
Stagnant.
Yeah.
And so, you're absolutely right. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah. Sandy, this perfect encapsulation of her journey back to where she started. Billy works for his dad, but then not. And in another just breathtakingly low stakes conflict with the Mancinis, Michael's worried about being a dad, but then not.
Oh,
so
God.
it's
I think I know why he started being worried, because Jane is wearing maternity clothes for no reason.
Let's talk about that right now. Well, what did we come along to? There's just
this show is pregnant with possibilities.
When you talk about things that the scenes where things happen and scenes where things don't happen, when on our watch just now, we stopped paying attention to what was happening in that scene.
Because it made no
It
sense.
was producer Ilana. Do you mind if I? Do you remember? It was the rapprochement, sort of like them tidying things up when that happened.
Yes, when she's making the pasta Mancini.
That's right. Pasta Mancini awaited.
Here's what I'm gonna say. She said pasta Mancini. My brain went to food. Let's follow the Mancini storyline, if you will, with me for a moment.
This one has some food. I love it.
A lot of food stuff. So the Mancini situation, super low stakes. We start off with Michael, like intent on hurting himself.
He moved that piece of furniture like he was a real asshole.
It was so big.
It's like
there was producer Chris pointed out a potted plant, some other weird piece of like
that was part of Jane's involvement in the kerfuffle. I think she was trying to clear the plant for him, but then there's like this incredibly weird sconce that's huge. Like, I don't want to break your momentum.
No, please.
It is the layout and the actions that lead to Michael Mancini's injury in this episode. Yeah, well, the funny thing is, we're talking about physical comedy, and it wasn't really much when he takes the original fall.
Yes, and he like sprains
like,
his ankle.
Ow.
And this is the first of again, this isn't a spoiler.
Yeah,
but just a tradition.
Hang a lantern.
I would like to posit that a theme of Melrose Place is people getting injured doing something wildly unnecessary. This happens a lot. Michael especially really all of his injuries are pretty much 100% his own fault and completely avoidable. This is the first time I think we've seen him hurt himself, right? It's always at his own hand.
Yeah.
He always, it's like, no one...
Doctor, heal thyself.
He can't.
Preventive medicine.
By the way, you pointing out that he was a doctor, he was so mad about like her going, you have to go to the hospital. My thought process was, don't you have to go anyways?
Yeah, I was figuring it was
job.
a stack. Yeah.
But yes.
Or is he going like, I've seen the doctors that place. Don't take me there. I'll be dead from this foot thing like a horse.
Some whiskey.
Yeah.
He just starts doing his own foot.
But well, so okay. Do we want to stay? We were talking Mancini food, right? Yeah. So what we get to with the big pratfall is where we get to the big pratfall is Michael
Their
is
meatiest scene, really.
Michael is cooking something.
Something mysterious.
Okay, if you don't mind, Lisa.
Oh, not at all.
We went to the pains of writing down all of the words that are used to describe what Michael's cooking. Not its smell. I think they say something. But like these are the words literally used. Something. Your dinner.
Weird dinner?
Your dinner.
Your dinner. Oh, God.
I'm cooking your dinner, nutritious.
What?
Good. Fresh veggies and legumes. So that we've got like ingredients there. Interesting it's described at. And finally it's described as this. Never really telling us what's going on in that pot. Lisa, you have a guess. But and then notably there's a rabbit hole. Is this the one we can talk about for an hour potentially?
Yes, I love this.
Let's talk about it.
Because here's the thing. I want to just I'm like justifying why we're spending so much time on this. This is a show where eventually there are so many budding restaurateurs in this complex. People who fancy themselves chefs constantly. Also, people are constantly making each other meals to. It's always an apology for something really terrible, and the meal never. And by the way, here's another thing: the way they were filming back then, you were not getting the detail of like the 4K and the HD experience.
They did not plan for this.
They had no idea that I once took a picture of something. I showed it to producer Ilana. We both had the same reaction. It was a lobster tail. It looked as if this thing had been made. It looked like a candle. You know when they it was out of wax. It was drip. It was clearly fake food. It was a big deal too. I think in the scene they were here's your dinner. And
it wasn't food in the scene. It was the scene around.
It had a green, like a highlighter green sauce on it. What on God's earth would
Nothing
that
good.
even be?
Nothing good.
So in this universe, guys, Michael, for some reason, also, here's the thing, buddy. You did whatever you did to your ankle. He is on one crutch. It is totally
hopping around like
fine
an
to just
asshole.
heat up a pizza. Like,
Yeah.
no one's expecting you to whip up Mancini's hot zucchini stew.
The motivation for the vague pot meal is tied to his anxiety about fatherhood. Like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
which is to say that fucking mystery meal serves as plot. That's serves a story.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes.
So like maybe if we want to spend an hour on it, that's what we should do because.
Well, here's the thing. Oh my god!
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
Let's not
can
lose
we,
that.
like the Zapruder film
Well,
of
I
Kennedy
could
being
go
shot,
through.
we could do an examination of this scene,
Yeah.
ad nauseum. Jane, first of all, before Jane enters the scene, Michael is over a cauldron-like pot, just fussing. He's in the kitchen.
Notably, he has a cutting board with some stuff prepared. Am I flowing with you, or am I cutting it on you?
You're totally flowing with me.
Yeah.
The cutting board appears to have something that looks like it could either be squash, a yellow squash, or maybe potatoes.
I thought onions.
That's a great guess.
These are all things. These are all things where you don't want to just throw them in at what turns out to be the end of the cooking process.
They are what start. You will never. In what
That was the garnish, practically.
Question. In
Yes.
what universe are you going, let me make sure my zucchini gets nice and fully cooked and super soggy, so I'm going to toss in these onions or potatoes or squash at the last second. It made no
that mixture
sense.
of textures. But this is also the temperature of the thing is at when Michael says,
Oh, yes.
Jane
Jane
it's
is
almost
able
ready.
to put her finger in it and go,
She-
interesting.
She fingers the mystery meal.
She pokes it down as if to say, by the way, if I'm able to do this to whatever that was you just threw in here 2 seconds ago, I saw you. It is so full of starch that, look, it's not going back up. It's like going with that. She's like going this.
Right. This should be saturated, not something I'm gonna break my teeth on as your pregnant wife.
Okay, this is why I think we could spend an hour on this. I will briefly refer to a show called Love is Blind. This is the 3rd season. There is a scene, I will give, it is a similar energy. There is a man who is purporting to do this woman, make a big gesture where he's like, I'm making you dinner. And she's like, oh, that's so great. And she comes out and it's not done yet. She slowly, through the course of watching, realizes that he has started to cook the things that cook fastest first.
Oh.
He has this chicken he's just flinging about everywhere. By the end of it, this poor lady has made herself her own dinner. So I feel like Jane has experienced this before, because before she even saw whatever it was he was doing in that kitchen, before any of that, she goes, oh man, I could really go for a quarter pounder. Which, by the way, I was going to myself, this lady saw that pot, and she's like, there's no way. There's a quarter pounder in that pot.
That makes me hungry
Oh,
for something
wow.
else.
Yes, it's almost like when I almost feel like she did it like, the passive-aggressive way where you're pretending like you don't see that Michael's made you a dinner. You're like, man, I sure could go for a quarter pounder. Oh. I guess zucchini hot water tonight. Oh, that's great. Like, is he going to strain it? Or was the broth intended to be with the whole stew? Because here's the other thing. The temperature can't have been scalding. It must have been quite lukewarm.
Yeah, that part wasn't. He gets on. It's on his pants.
All over him.
Yes.
As somebody who has experienced a 3rd-degree burn from doing that, what happened was, I will speak from first-hand experience.
My heart breaks.
Oh, you're so sweet. But like Michael, he must have had it very low, which also is just like so gross. Like, what are you making? Because let me tell you something.
Nothing is served at that temperature.
Nothing
this
is
isn't.
cooked.
There's like a ceviche or something. There are things that are served cold.
Wait a minute.
Nothing is served at that temperature.
Did we just stumble across someone's first attempt to purposely poison someone? He was just incubating bacteria at that point. Because let me tell you something about.
But wait, okay, go.
So here's the thing. If that water was at a cooking temperature, as someone who accidentally burned herself,
Did You know you're great.
When the hot water touches your body,
Yeah.
the hot water-soaked clothing continues to burn your body.
Yes,
so
you can't. It's not in any way hot.
It's not. It's obviously lukewarm. So then another thing I don't want to forget that I think producer Ilana pointed out. Right before Jane leaps the fuck out of that scene, there is a fire, a flame.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into the fire.
At some point,
he's
on fire.
Let's get back to the fire. Let's stay on
Please.
this because what I was going to say is it's a perfect loop because if you know that this woman goes into the scene wanting a quarter pounder, and then her final action is to leave her injured husband, on the floor wet while there's a fire in the sink right behind him. She, as the kids say, yeets herself the fuck out of there.
Oh, that was hysterical.
And leaves him such because she's gonna get burgers. I weirdly at first was like, no, this is fine. Like she knows he can get up, and she's getting food. Like this is actually a good wife. And then I watched it, and this is again the deep dive, the close read of it all is that we guys, Lisa is often like Wayne. Be in the moment, and then something distracts me. I'm going to tell you that we have some guest stars here.
They're so lovely. We have little kitties that are just off camera who are very social right now. Hi guys.
So yeah,
Hi.
Conan Maximilian Lewis and McLean Aloysius Lewis, our cats, are very active right now. And I almost want to say, producer Chris, if you want to get some of them either to cut into this. Because Conan's putting on a scratching demonstration. McLean's jostling the camera with his love.
They're so cute.
People might want to see, or we're always on the hunt for bonus material. I believe. I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Yes, no, this is a part of it. I love cats involved in the mess.
This is our reality.
This is so great. Like, okay, so can we get back to the fire?
Quarter pounder and the fire. Yes, let's do the fire.
Because
fucking sure.
Let me see if I'm remembering the fire correctly. I feel like we turn away from Michael for a second, right?
Well, the weird thing is that if you know to watch for it, you can see that as he is lifting. Okay, again, another crazy making detail, if you don't mind, folks.
I do not.
Listen, so I'm going to try and stay on this. The temperature of the thing.
I love it. It's gross.
If we were to be examining this in a forensic manner, we would say, why does the fire start?
Thank you.
A dish towel starts on fire. Well, how did the dish towel get in the way of the fire? Well, Dr. Mancini needs to lift his mystery meal from the stovetop to the serving area, and obviously, he needs to protect his hands from the temperature of the pot. But we have already established, my friends, established that it's not that hot. So he creates the fire hazard, and folks, this is one I probably even should have had the time code. Maybe we'll put it down below or something, or it doesn't matter.
You'll find it.
If you are watching for it, you can see the moment where it was actually, I think, I would like to send backwards through time some kudos to the folks involved with that whole thing up to a certain point. Which is to say that they could have gotten away with, oh, you turn your back on, next thing you know, he's on fire. But no, you can actually see that fucking thing falling onto the open flame, and the next thing it's on fire, and the next thing he's being sprayed in the face with water. And it's like, we didn't even get into that.
Right.
It's
the whole
beautiful.
rom-com, madcap.
I don't want to, I risk hyperbole at times, but I got some, young Tom Hanks just from the moment where Jane is spraying Michael's face with water.
Yes.
And just kind of like a thing. And it's really good. He falls.
He goes for it. He really gives it his all.
So up to a point, the fact that they tracked that for me, I feel like they were doing that just for me, maybe. However, maybe this is something like research. Maybe there's details about this, or maybe we can only conjecture. Was this towel supposed to stay on fire in the sink behind Jane that whole time? Probably not.
No.
That looked like a fucking hazard to people.
I will tell you, I have posted on, spoiler alert, on the Melrose Madness Instagram, a similar moment in which an actor was handling fire, and it was supposed to have been extinguished, and you can see the actor looking in the corner being like, Fire is so incredibly scary on set, and the other thing. So thank you so much because I did not catch that moment.
Yeah. So
Here's another thing I want to add.
I kind of cut off. You were trying to get into it, but I just had to. That it is bonkers to me that they track that.
You laid it all out with the timeline of events because I actually did not know how it caught fire. Yeah. I remembered it as turned away. Whatever.
No, it was the lukewarm thing that he needed a dish towel sloppily held. Okay,
No, you're doing great. So
I feel so much about this.
Oh, I am so with you. That's why I was like, if you want to dedicate this whole episode to this fucking cooking scene, I'm in because this shit is crazy. So I'm going to add to that what you've already laid down and established. So this is how it catches fire. That dish rag is bone dry, and he is using it to handle something. In what universe did this man go into the drawer to get a fresh new dish rag? Because you know if a dish rag's out and you're cooking and you saw the chaos that man was creating in the kitchen, there's no way there's just a dry-ass dish rag. And here's another thing, too. This is the 90s. Everybody was like, check it out, synthetic fibers. I'm going to guarantee you there were some nasty-ass plastic fumes being released into the air because... And also, how would you... The amount of effort it would take to catch that whole thing on fire, it would either have to... I really think it was a polyester thing.
It was a fire hazard. It was a fire hazard style thing. Well, and it occurs to me that Michael at some point works the emergency room. I remember this.
That's right.
I don't know if that's what he's doing right now. They're not specific about his rotations. But an emergency room doctor sees the results of dumb shit people do, such as draping a cloth into an open flame. So it's like there's a weird why is he trying to lose win a Darwin Award, I should say?
By the way, too, these guys are newly married, right?
It's new enough.
Yeah,
to
because
LA.
remember the 3 weird candles?
That was 3 months in LA a while back, but they've only known each other for 2 years. So you have to cram in all of this history of a young married couple into a 2-year in a few months now.
But what I'm saying is, if you just got married, you've not lost the pot holders that you received in your registry.
Oh wow, this is deep again. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
the 2 years is crazy.
Oh no, listen. That's the thing I'm saying is
none of this is reality.
Pot holders.
Yeah,
you have pot holders. You are a young couple in
Someone
Chicago.
Cheaped out.
Somebody cheaped. No. Yeah, it was just this. I actually don't think someone cheaped out. I think this is a through line for the entire season that there is a complete lack of respect and understanding of how human beings eat.
Yeah, no, this is how we end up here.
Imagine an alien watching Melrose Place, and being like, "This is how these creatures acquire their nutrition."
And an advanced enough alien to also recognize the issue of putting something hard late into a stew or whatever. If they know all the stuff, like the physics of everything, but don't know the culture of it, yeah, they'd be like, this is a race on the path to extinction. Because if this is necessary for them, if this is what's involved for them to gain energy with which to power the metabolism in their body,
not going to work.
I don't like to use these words, Glorpon, but Glorpon... These people are fucked.
Oh, Glorpon. Nobody names their kid Glorpon anymore.
It's a classic. It's a biblical. It comes from a few traditions.
Oh my gosh.
So let's keep talking about it. I seem to remember that you were I felt like you were on the road to a different conspiracy theory earlier. Can I get into that?
Please.
That perhaps more than just Jane wanting a quarter pounder and running out to get a quarter pounder, is there any possibility that she somehow, if not actively sabotaged, passively watched her husband drape a dish towel into a flame and said, I ain't going to say nothing, and this fool will end up on the ground with that nonsense all over him, and then as soon as possible after this...
As soon as possible.
Am I covering it correctly? Maybe it's my conspiracy theory.
No, you
I thought you said this.
You, sir, can I tell you something?
I'm losing it, Lisa. I'm gonna be quiet for a little while because I feel like you'll have soothing words for me.
I am 100% on board with what you're saying. I completely agree that Jane sabotaged this. I do not doubt it for one moment. Because here's the thing. That woman is such a controlling nag. There is no way she saw that dish towel approached the burner, she was like, there is not a quarter pounder in that cauldron right there. It is too steamy. It smells like
Interesting.
It smells like a swamp in here. I don't even want to know what he's making. I've already decided that whatever happens.
Keep it vague. Whatever.
I feel like her brain was her inner monologue. This is Jane's inner monologue. She walks in and she's like, I am just, girl. You know what? I could go for a quarter pounder. Oh, look at the effort that this man has made. Oh, this kitchen is a nightmare. Why did we jam the microwave in the corner like that and put the salt and pepper shaker on top? I feel like there's a better place for this. But you know what? I'm just going to put everything that exists in the kitchen in this corner for the right now. Michael is just utter chaos in the kitchen. It is, I don't know
It's like
why.
carnival music playing in his head, and just all he can think of is the stupid shtick he's gonna do. Oh, Janie, it's gonna be really nice. But the food is tertiary at best.
Oh, she was.
And she can see all of this.
She was
She
so
knows
about
this.
that burger. There's no way there's a good meal in there. So she already. I agree with you. I think Jane tanked for the dinner. I don't care if you think that I'm paranoid. I am Team Wayne. Jane tanked that dinner. It was
# Jane Stew Truthers, guys.
I support her though. It looked terrible.
Well, so is that our first scheme ever? It was a real short con.
That was a short
We're going to
scheme.
go from potential shitty dinner to burgers with just a little bit of, like, emotional Tai Chi. Like, if I see danger coming for my husband, but I let the danger pass by me and into his body, burgers on the other end. That's a kind of a scheme to me.
I completely agree with you. I feel like, listen.
And who would have thought it's JD? Like, famously boring. I mean, we don't
Bad
have to.
at business,
Let's talk. If we're gonna get into, like not really spoiler territory, but like Josie Bissett, the fine actress, I think, who embodies Jane. She complained to the writers that later along about how boring she was, but here we are,
Your name
nonetheless.
is Jane Andrews.
Jane Andrews, Jane Mancini, Nee Andrews. Is that how that's
Nay
said?
Andrews,
Nay
yes.
Andrews. Nay Andrews. Nay.
Nay Andrews.
Yeah, but she's the first schemer then.
She is. You know what? You're absolutely right.
It's the quiet
because
ones.
It's the little. I feel like there were so many. I mean, Billy really is the first architect of the first true overt scheme.
Yes.
This is Jane. Jane is demonstrating a type of scheme because there's multiple kinds of schemes. It's sort of like a soft scheme. Like
Super
it's
soft.
a one episode lie of omission of sorts, because that's the thing too, is like people we're starting to see with the Jane and Michael thing, this idea of her maybe withholding the information about the dish rag. I feel like there's a lot of lies of omission in this series. There's a lot of people who passively scheme, and that is definitely Jane's wheelhouse. Like she's
done it already. She's multiple times. Really, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because
Is
all
the
of
ring a
the
scheme?
ring, I think
to
the ring's
to
a
keep
scheme.
Michael. Man, this is a real rabbit
I mean,
hole.
well,
do you want to
what
stay
did
on
I call
this?
it? A lie of omission.
Yeah.
It was a lie of omission, and constantly that's
Fuck
what Jane
me.
is doing, is just because then
And creating drama, but like not successfully. Like it's like Michael, in any version he changes, should be smart enough to be like, why am I getting into this with her?
100%. It
Like,
doesn't
what are
make
we
sense.
doing here? Maybe, there's probably a part of him maybe saying, she's upset that I don't remember when I fell in love with her.
Oh my
Maybe she and I should sit down and we should just talk about realistic expectations for one another and like how we're going to conduct ourselves in this marriage, and that like that is maybe something that doesn't matter truly when there are larger things for us to look at in our future. But he didn't do that. Instead, he made up some bullshit speech about how he loves her more every day.
I have to tell you that now that you've brought up this really great point,
Yeah.
I really just like to point out that the pot that Michael was using to cook
Bring it
the
back.
hot zucchini water in is a similar pot that is either used for making boiling hot dogs or making chili.
That is a
And-
chili pot if I've seen
And
one.
by
I
the
know
way,
chili, guys.
so keep in mind, chili dogs have such a poignant sentimental value for Miss Janie. And she comes home and this man, and she says, hey, could we really go for a quarter pounder?
You are desecrating
And
that chili pot.
She's like thinking to herself, oh wow, I said quarter pounder. Maybe he's taking the umami note of a really savory thing. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe this man remembered the effort I made to get these chili dogs to his place of work.
Potentially the aphrodisiac that produced the fetus, I'm going to say.
Wait a minute.
Embryo. Whatever stage we're at.
They conceived a baby on chili dog sex.
This is not confirmed, but it's as many things we have a number of theories so far just in this episode, and one of my theories from earlier is yes, chili fuck. ...
Chili dog baby.
Because that was, what did she say? Like she said one of the cliches about what, like we were just so swept up in the moment or something. Well, when would they be swept up in the moment than after jamming some pinks down their faces?
We got swept up. We were our booties had lifted off the couch from the farts. It was as if we were levitating. Have you seen Ghostbusters when Sigourney Weaver just rises?
I don't want to kink shame, but if they want to fart and fuck, and it's productive in the sort of biblical sense, I don't know. We're done, right? That's it for the.
Guys, we're out of here.
So, Lisa, I actually think...
I feel like in terms of the Jane and the Michael, the only thing I would like to point out is to the final beat of this storyline. Producer Ilana, correct me if I am wrong, I do believe that Jane ends up cooking Michael some of the Pasta Mancini that we are, the famous Pasta Mancini, which is interesting because the man did not choose to make any pasta, even though there is pasta named after his family.
Yes.
And so, again, just the culinary possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's some deeper theories we could get into about, like... Is that a counter move? Like, you were going to feed me lukewarm trash.
You were trying to kill me with, like, a weird, low-level food poisoning situation.
I love the idea of desecrating the chili pot is beautiful.
She was like, oh my God, you know what it is?
This show, ladies and gentlemen, contains multitudes.
100%.
Melrose Maniacs.
Here's what the pot, to me, with the chili dog and the romantic connotation, to me, an analogous situation is a man takes a ring box.
I like this.
Gets down on one knee and goes, hey, do you want a Starburst? And she was like, you know, the most romantic meal I've ever eaten with you was made using this type of thing. I come home to tepid zucchini onion water. Yeah, you know what? When you spill this everywhere, you're going to clean yourself.
I'm going to be getting burgers. If you want to know.
She's in heels, and she, like,
booked.
Jumped. I watched that lady leap out of that scene. It was amazing.
I can see the future, and in the future, you're on the floor and wet, and I have burgers.
And I have burgers. But yeah,
dude,
I feel like
it's breathtaking.
I feel like that was all explored wonderfully. I did remember and did not want to forget this episode. You know, we've already gone through some of the scenes, but like the way that it starts is so perfect for the episode because it is literally Sandy screaming. Sandy is screaming, and this actually is, despite those kitchen shenanigans that just delighted us both, Sandy's actually the A story for the first time. This is a Sandy episode.
Ostensibly.
This is an attempt to show Sandy as the actress, Sandy as a starlet, and her screaming at the beginning, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't want to be mean or brutal. I'm just going to try to be, like, super honest. I didn't fully understand why Sandy had been taken off as a character for a while, but, like, oh, God bless this lady. She really can't act. Like, it's not even, it is, I didn't really see it.
I think it's a mismatch between actor and role. Because I liked Amy Locane in Crybaby. I don't really want to talk about Crybaby at all.
Well,
but
I think a more stylized version of acting would make sense. Although it's so funny because I feel like Tracy Lords came on Melrose Place and kind of killed it. Like,
yes.
You know what? She gives guests
nice connection.
Energy.
Nice connection though. Well, but not reteamed because different eras. But
Well, I love a John Waters ingenue, you know.
yeah, no, that's beautiful.
But yeah, we start off with Sandy screaming, and like
that sets the mood.
and it sets the
That's what
mood.
you're
And this
saying.
is the first time that we're actually seeing a young person living in Los Angeles pursuing an acting career. Like, it is so hilarious that they eventually, I mean, listen, it's not a big spoiler alert, but like eventually we spend most of our time in like an advertising office or a hospital. So this is still that last attempt to try to get us out into the Hollywood world. And so Sandy is, you know, practicing her audition. There's a lot of friction throughout, I think, the episode with her and Rhonda, who, again, like, people cannot stop telling Rhonda that her dance thing is just
it's
like,
not real.
girl, you need bigger ambitions. We don't respect what you do.
Don't. And I disagree so thoroughly with that. But yeah,
100%.
that is the energy. Sandy tells her that you got nothing going on, and Rhonda. But it's like this is, you know, and this could get into actually something we wanted to talk about.
Oh, I would love that.
Is that this is so unlike the last episode. It's almost a repudiation of the previous episode.
Yes.
Last episode we saw stories of redemption. We saw Rhonda affirm that she's living the life she wants to live, which, like, to me, kind of amazingly powerful, even though technically static. It's like that never existed. The theme for this episode, My Way, is these characters were doing things their way like a bunch of assholes. This is the theme is humans behaving badly. Is the way we look at it.
I like it.
So it is like they were trying to erase that nice Melrose Place from last week from existence immediately. They were the immune system of the show on some level rejected the idea of self betterment as kind of a plot, and said, like, no, these people are just going to be a bunch of assholes.
I think you're absolutely right. It was maybe that storyline didn't resonate with the ratings the week before, and, you know, there was this like reactionary move. But the thing that I think you are absolutely right, Sandy's storyline really did epitomize the whole like character, like, really having to reclaim their power in a way. So she has this audition.
Mm-hmm.
She does the audition. There's this I guess it's the director is
the
sitting there
director.
with the casting.
Yeah.
And, you know, just want to point out, guys, from a cultural and context perspective, the likelihood of an Asian American female commercial director putting a white lady through this kind of weird sexual harassment. The thing is, they just weren't, that was not a demographic that was really directing at the time. So even if there were...
The opportunities were not there.
No. And so it is really mind-blowing that there was not the choice to use a guy, because that would have been way more accurate to the time and made a hell of a lot more sense. But the funny thing is, I think the reality of knowing that men do this all the time was too much for the men to see, or whoever, to have it acknowledged.
They didn't want the weight of that would tip the show off balance.
The truth of it would have tipped it off balance. So that part, I thought, you know, I just wanted to put a little thing on that I thought was hilarious. That
we see essentially a mythic creature
that doesn't make sense. It's completely
the you know, all of the horror movies with budgets from the 90s that had Asian ladies the opportunity to direct them.
Well, I mean, that notwithstanding or whatever, like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like it just wouldn't have made any sense.
The lady director was on our list of humans behaving badly because of both the snap decision that Sandy's going to have to get her tits out
at the last freaking moment. It's told to someone else by her.
Told to someone else.
And here's the other thing that I thought was crazy is, so Sandy at one point, you know, she finds out she gets this role, and there's this whole situation where she's going to a Hollywood party.
Yes.
The crazy thing is, I am so conditioned to know that code for going to a producer's home for a Hollywood party,
that result
means usually no one else is there. You show up. It's a whole, you know, taking advantage of situation, which back then ran rampant, and I'm sure still does to this day, you know, whatever. But the funny thing is that didn't happen, but again, we see Sandy comes back from this party. She's drunk. Granted, she is fake
Sloppy.
laughing in the courtyard
Yeah.
like a weird person because nobody can really act drunk on this show. And who is lurking like the big bad wolf? Again, we see Sandy in a situation where she is vulnerable. She's quite powerless. Jake, who has been straight up just turning her down every episode when she is like, hey, I'm into you.
Throwing other relationships in her face to some extent.
Oh, to every extent, constantly.
Do you choose to bring your high school girlfriend on a date to the bar where
Who, by the way,
your
looks
neighbor
like
whom
me.
you fucked works? Where you're guaranteed to see. That's a past episode.
Yes,
but to your point.
but
Thank
yeah,
you.
so you
Fuckboy
see-
Jake.
Well, so you see him when she's drunk and she seems to be doing well. He's like, hey, do you want to go for a midnight swim? Number one, that is exactly how white ladies who look like her end up on 2020 drowned in a damn pool. Because you know what? That is wild. You do not get drunk and go in a pool with your stupid neighbor who will not talk to you when you're sober. Oh my God. Ladies, let this be a PSA.
At best, maybe it was just code. There was no actual swimming that was going to happen, but rather the midnight sex in Jake's apartment. He's like, you're here, I'm here, look at me, let's do this.
You aren't completely coherent, so I don't have to engage with you in that way. So let's do this. So the great thing is, this was my favorite Sandy moment. And she's like, she laughs in his face, said, you had your chance, and then stumbles her way up. And I mean, you know what, guys?
Yeah.
Not to make a spoiler alert, but those stairs can be treacherous. Just throwing it out there.
They will be a villain in a scene or two.
And almost maybe the way that she sort of haphazardly gets up those stairs. I mean, I like to think of that as a little bit of foreshadowing of like, hey, did you guys notice how twisty these are for a lady in heels? Feeling a lot of things. But yes, I really, and then at the end, I think, we see poor Rhonda. Like, everyone is just like, ugh, you should really have bigger dreams.
Yep, yeah, she gets that tossed her way a bit. But Rhonda's one of our assholes.
Oh yes,
we can talk about that.
Oh yeah, tell me about what Ron. I can't really. I didn't really click in on that. But
we have a way through this. Then in fact, I want to. We'll talk about Rhonda's behavior right now, but just like there people were such assholes in this episode that there's so many little trails to follow and things to talk about that this would be a marathon episode that no one would want to hear and that we wouldn't want to do. So like I can throw some stuff at you and can be like, yeah, that sucks. Next.
Sounds good.
And then there's one you're like, we need to talk about this, right?
I love this.
So with Rhonda, the original argument alone involves Rhonda not being able to audition potential music for her cardio funk class in headphones. Like, no, bad for you. I'm bumping this stuff in my kitchen rather than the bedroom. They both have bedrooms, their own bedrooms. So that's a little bit of assholery. It was counterbalanced by the fact that Sandy needed all this focus and 2 days to memorize 8 lines and 3 screens.
I will argue that they're both wrong because you pointed out they both have bedrooms. This is moronic because, by the way, I have lived with roommates extensively. If my roommate is in the living room doing something, regardless of whether it's loud or not, I'm probably going to go, oh, you're in here doing something. Maybe I could go to my room and do so. None of it makes any sense. It's all contrived to try to create some arguments between them because if somebody's already doing something, like I don't know, the roommate rules are, hi, now you have to be super quiet because I have decided. I mean,
yeah, that's some passive aggressive bullshit.
I totally think it is. But then, yeah, it's more than anything, it just felt like they were trying to invent some arguments for these ladies to have.
So Rhonda from there, from there, this is how she tells her roommate and good friend, you've got a role for the first time in your life.
This was so fun.
No, there's no calls. Nothing's happening. I wasn't even really listening. Oh, wait, there was one call. You got the role. The fact that her desire for her roommate and good friend is that she should feel disappointed. Sandy starts to say something self-doubting. And it's like, gotcha. So, like, that's asshole.
I don't like that.
A supposedly nice thing. Sandy, okay, asshole for taking Rhonda's dress. Stealing Rhonda's dress.
Yeah.
Rhonda's dress is on Sandy's body.
Yes.
And that's the fact of the matter. But she's now going to, this is leading into the Hollywood party.
Yes.
This is what we don't know. Is she going into like a den of wolves, or is she going into like a fun night on the town? It turns out to be the latter for some reason.
Yes.
The less
she
realistically.
comes home to a potential, assault.
Rhonda has organized a surprise party involving all of them, which makes them all assholes here because Sandy's got plans, and this
Makes
party
no sense.
is now mandatory. Rhonda steaming mad that Sandy should say, like, quite reasonably, hey, look, it's not a great look for me to be hanging out with a casting. So this is a gatekeeper I'm about to see, and what he's going to see when he looks in is, oh, this is like this person's friends think she's a real loser. This person's friends are highlighting. This is her big break. Is the 8 lines and 3 screams. I don't want that to happen to me. Sandy does not want that to happen to her. No, the surprise party is what Rhonda wants.
I'm going to take a cue from investigator Ilana.
Yes.
I think the real culprit is Matt. Again, you know what? This plays into the theme of unnecessary fights between these two ladies.
Yes.
Because producer Ilana pointed out very poignantly. By the way, the fact that the food on this show is usually so terrible, and that cake actually looked very appetizing. I
Store-bought.
Matt heard the semblance of a reason to get cake because there is one slice missing from that massive cake that eventually turns up at the end.
We see the cake again as the sort of like coming together again of the roommates, nothing having really happened, and they're going to pig out on the cake with a big wedge missing.
Because honestly, Matt is the only character in this episode whose motivation I do not know, except cake. The cake. Once you said that, I was like, that makes total sense. That is the only person who really achieved their goal in this episode.
There are multiple reaction shots of him just looking heartbroken about that cake.
I mean, when you said that, I couldn't unsee it, and I was like, there is more emotion being conveyed on his face than anyone in any of these scenes. I
don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but I feel like there's a thing, not just on Melrose Place, I'm going to call it 5 o'clock shadow acting, and just somehow they throw that on, and it's supposed to add grit or gravitas or something. And the fact that Matt is so effing bummed about not getting cake, with a little bit of a ginger-ish.
Yes, I think so.
5 o'clock shadow. I say that not as a slur. I say that as someone.
Hey, I have sex
positive.
with a ginger, so it's fine. We can say these things.
I haven't. Yeah.
But Matt, no, you're right because you pointed out the grittiness. I'd like to remind everyone that Matt actually has a job and goes to it. So
he took time out of his day.
Matt.
Yeah.
He did take time out of his day. Sandy covered the graduation camps last episode. Matt was on deck for cake, and he was ready to pull that trigger.
In this place where they will celebrate goddamn anything also.
By the way, would like to call forward, I think it was, into the episode where there is mention of a special event dessert.
Yeah, this is more vague food. Yeah.
Is very much a special event dessert.
Mind?
Yeah, which, by the way, I feel like could easily segue into our Palm Springs kidnapping storyline. Is that an efficient way to describe that?
I want to get into that just briefly. Jake is also such a big asshole. He basically he manhandles Sandy.
Oh yes.
He steals a beer. Maybe we can get back to that.
Yes, from the beginning, he steals somebody's beer that Sandy's clearly giving to someone else. And the funny thing is, it's classic Jake because who will suffer the consequences? Sandy. That lady.
Yeah.
Not him.
So just he's an offshot of that, and he's an asshole throughout. He talks Sandy back into this by yelling at her, which is not great.
Oh yeah, he's real aggro.
But yeah, let's talk about what a huge asshole Billy is.
Billy straight up kidnaps Allison.
There's a
sleep in a
kidnapping.
bed with him. Pretend to be in a relationship. I have to
You're
say,
these are all things he did that were assholish.
and just completely. This is also. It's very interesting because Billy can never be. Billy is constantly portrayed as like he's such a good guy, but he just gets caught up in crazy stuff. Billy is a stone cold liar. This man is a pathological liar. He lies all the time. He pretended
He lied to Alison so thoroughly and tricked her so thoroughly that he had to reveal it in layers.
Oh, you're right. There were stages.
And she's like, and she now knows him well enough to say, but what else?
Yeah.
And to know
There's gotta be more.
And know that this, nothing, means there's more.
You've got secrets in those shoulder pads.
Which does culminate with him telling her just before the door opens that she is now, in his parents' eyes, his girlfriend, that she did not know.
That was the absolute worst. I can't.
Kidnapped to a Palm Springs that might not be Palm Springs. Do we want to talk about that?
It looks like Valencia. It has been pointed out by producers who grew up in the valley, so I feel like they can confidently say this.
Producer Ilana had the great point that it's like, aside from just straight up being a kidnapping, if that's your Palm Springs vacation, it's the worst version because it's like they hung out in a condo is what they did.
By the way,
with like a blowhard and a very strange woman.
Oh my God.
Well, so you wanted to talk about special events. Let's talk about Mrs. Campbell.
Oh
Her
God.
bit of assholery, by the way, is pushing Allison to sleep with Billy in their house.
Physically on her butt. Like she spanked. Here's the scene, guys. Here's the scene.
Set the scene for us,
So
Lisa.
also there's like a weird rom-com energy, 90s rom-com energy throughout this, where the wackiness in the kitchen reminds me of the energy of when Harry met Sally. Yes, when Harry met Sally.
Yeah.
The lobster scene that everyone knows. But oh yeah, and again you see that again. This was also like a thing you saw in the 90s of like this idea of like, oh no, we have to sleep in the same bed because we're pretending to be in a relationship
It's
gag.
like forced.
And this is also the first time that we're seeing something that constantly happens throughout the show. Not a spoiler. People really love lying for reasons that are completely unnecessary. His parents did not give any energy of when are you going to get married. They never even once said, oh, we're so relieved to hear that you have a girlfriend or something. It was all about his career, where I just feel like Billy, and I feel like they do this a lot. He does this a lot with Alison in their relationship. He was like, how can I figure out how to make her the problem? Because the thing
She's always ready to be the problem, to be fair, as you've pointed out.
Completely
But
ready.
yes.
He's addicted to the problemness of her.
He sets her up.
They're kind of actually perfect for each other because he's like, who would react the absolute worst to being kidnapped and forced to be around parents? And
Alison has, relatably and understandably, a little bit of an anxiety attack when she finds out that this big family thing that she'd been invited to for fun is minus 2 daughters because, by the way, the dad's such an asshole that they don't talk to him. So it is foursome now. It is
Malachi?
Mr. Malachi Thorne
That's the actor's name.
Throne as William Campbell, perhaps senior, and then there's Mrs. Campbell and the two of them now. She doesn't even know yet with the belief that she is now to be Billy's girlfriend. So it's like, it's just all sorts of, special. So this Mrs. Campbell who is like, oh, we're really progressive. Jump on my boy at bedtime. Has said of herself that her culinary skills, because we were talking food. We can't not get the special event dessert in is the thing. So I'm going to come to it, and there's the thing. That's what I mean. Like we could talk forever about the assholery about Billy and his clan, but so right. As we all know, her specialties, she says, are soups and special event desserts and sauces and special. Thank you, producer Ilana corrected me. Producer Ilana has a very special interest in this moment because
what is a special event dessert?
Also,
what is a special event dessert? Is the question.
Well, I'm going to guess, and producer Chris also guessed, it's a very, everything that was mentioned up to special event dessert
I love this.
is very liquidy. Like, so to me, the woman is like giving you hints that like, if you think that I like any textures beyond pudding, soup, sauces, she's naming.
I mean, a sauce can make a meal, but like that
But
usually
also-
means it's covering for something.
But also, if you are a woman who has raised 3 children, and you know you've got a husband, and I'm not saying that it's necessary. Listen, I'm not saying that it's a woman's responsibility. I'm just saying that was the reality. Of
That was the
time.
role.
And this is the reality.
We all know
This-
William Sr. stays at the store late into the night, probably to avoid her. But
Well, I mean, you are feeding your family
you're feeding your family.
with soups, sauces, and special event desserts. Like that is a
The 3
crazy
S's that the FDA
thing.
has put as what we should eat, I think.
I mean, I just thank you. The S sound of a snake is completely appropriate. Soups, sauces, and special events desserts. So either this lady has a maid or a housekeeper or a cook or something who's making food, or this. Well, actually, Billy, maybe that's why he has like crazy abs and pointy shoulders. Like, if you're just eating liquids, maybe that is the physique.
That is actually,
because it is
it's
a wild
true, 'cause
diet
it's-
that has been suggested.
You're filling up on water with a soup and a sauce and stuff. That makes certain sense.
And a special
Oh,
event
but-
dessert isn't happening that often. So even if it's like really substantial, it doesn't matter. It's twice a year.
But you want to hang a lantern on something. Billy has food issues.
Oh yeah. Wait. Can you point that out to me?
He loves from the first episode. It's like, what happens if I need peanut butter, but it's only yours around?
Oh, I forgot.
You're telling me I'm supposed to not eat that? You're just telling me I'm supposed to want something, and I don't get to eat it immediately?
Oh my god.
And it carries through, and we'll see it later on. This is not spoiler territory at all. That they will, in moments of stress in Billy's life, have him
Eat peanut butter?
snacking and stuff. It's not just peanut butter. I think it's a few things.
Like a few
but,
things.
yeah.
What does he do in this episode? I totally missed that.
Well, I don't mean it's not in this episode, but I'm just saying.
Oh, I
if,
see.
If you're layering on the history of a character,
Yes.
what you have. I mean, do you even want to talk about when people stopped knowing how to cook?
Well, I feel like Billy's mom represents something that I think is kind of common in that particular generation, where that is where the TV dinner was introduced. Like, if you look at Mad Men, that is the era where Billy's mom would have been, you know, that age, where all of a sudden it's being very glamorized that, you know, ladies, you don't have to spend hours in the kitchen. You just throw this weird metal tin into the oven.
It's likely what she grew up eating.
Well, I don't know that it's what she grew up eating. It's what she would have been, what it would have been marketed to her as a young housewife in the 50s. Because if you think that prior to that...
Will she be growing up in the 50s, housewife in the 70s, right?
Oh my gosh,
Billy's
am I
a
getting it
young
wrong?
man.
Oh, well, then you're absolutely right.
No, but I'm adjusting your timeline, but saying that you're dead on. Because if that's what you grow up eating, is like the casseroles, that sort of suburban mush food.
That's where it's like, hey, because here's the thing too, like, people come to the United States with a cultural identity, but if you're white, you give that up. So you're just doing whatever the mass market thing is, and then it almost became, I don't know if you felt this way, but like, I feel like, you know, I feel like you get this, I got the sense of like, it's like better and cleaner and more acceptable to have like the mass produced food.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yes,
you want to have
yes.
the Lunchables. You don't want to be embarrassed and have like a different homemade lunch. Like, that's like the prime era for that. Of oh my gosh, you got the processed.
Your mom
thing.
cared enough to buy Velveeta.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's like, and so to me, that was just like a funny little thing to note that like.
But that's the background, and you had this great answer. So, producer Ilana, aside from being a wonderful human being in all ways and a wonderful producer, is a bit of a dessert genius. So this troubled her. She couldn't find information. What is a special event dessert? If there's such a thing, how would I make one, perhaps, and mutate it into something glorious? That's where she's going with this. You said, well, no, it's just a big bowl of stuff. It's like ambrosia. It's the special event is family barbecue.
Have you looked at a cookbook, like a mainstream Betty Crocker cookbook from, let's say, the early 70s? It is the whole idea was to make food look as processed as humanly possible. It's like, how can we get it so that it looked like robots made this?
Right angles.
Yes,
if it's
jellies,
possible to,
aspics.
if it's possible to make right angles,
so many jellos.
You should.
Yes, yes. So many weird layers and things.
So that's some insight into.
That's my two cents.
And I'm connecting all of this then with Billy's food issues, expressed otherwise. I think. I mean, there's not much of it brought here. I'll admit.
Oh my God, but yeah, kidnapping her was so unnecessary.
Do we even want to? Do we want to talk about more about why Billy's an asshole? Or did we cover it pretty well? I mean, he takes the job at his dad's store and he encounters Mrs. Seinfeld. Essentially, Liz Sheridan is wonderful in her in that role, and he calls her a bitch. Is what he does. Is loudly.
Oh,
And by the way, she was also being an asshole. She was a bit of a proto Karen, in fact.
She was. It's funny because she called him out for being a schmoozy salesman.
Yeah.
And he got angry.
And he needed to defend the store's pricing policy.
It was.
So no, it was not. It wasn't about that. It was like what you said that about me. I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, I feel like it's the kind of thing he's probably yelled at his dad about.
Well, he just
But if this lady says it, then he's angry.
This is a maddening element of this storyline, is that we watch Billy do nothing but lie, as he's done the whole time.
Yes.
But when he has to tell the lie to sell something, it's below his ethical standards.
Exactly.
And it's like, what do you mean?
The lies.
I mean, even the big resolve with him is he has to do things. I just got to do things my way, Dad. When has Billy not done things his way, other than a day and a half working at a furniture store?
And even then, he didn't ever not do it his way. The minute this lady, by the way, I'm sorry, producer Ilana and I would just like to say briefly, the outfit that Liz Sheridan is wearing.
Oh,
in this
stick
episode,
with it. Yes.
She and Rhonda, to me, are the two best dressed ladies, the two best dressed people, full stop. And the colors, I thought that I felt like a character in Game of Thrones would be also appropriate.
Mrs. Seinfeld is wearing all the fabric in
so
a nice tone, and a real statement necklace.
Oh, yes.
And her power move on telling Bill Sr. that she doesn't have time for him. Chunky sunglasses, and out.
I mean, she exited that scene, and Billy shows up and goes, "Man, she was such a bitch." And
like, just, hard, angry.
I mean, that's the kind of, literary insult that a writer would foist upon a difficult female customer. Like, we're really getting just shades of Hemingway in his insult. It's just like, you're telling me Billy's a writer, and the best thing he can come up with is, what a bitch. I'm just like, dude, you better take that pointy little jacket off your shoulders and calm down. And then his dad is so great. The actor Malachi Throne. Because I just love his name. By the way, he did introduce himself as William Campbell. So I would like to imagine that Billy's birth certificate says Billy Campbell.
Oh, perfect.
Because that is never how Billy introduces himself. Although, you know what? Oh, this would be a spoiler, but at some point there is a character who I really, really love, who I think is the only person who ever refers to him as William.
Okay.
And I think you guys can guess who I'm talking about. Somebody who likes to formalize people with their nicknames.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Billy. Billy was such a jerk at the furniture store, kidnaps Alison. The funny thing to me is the big issue with his dad is about whether or not he's going to work at the store. So the whole thing with Alison doesn't even make sense because they don't care about that.
It is taking a long route to fail to solve a problem.
100%. And then the best part is he totally has his, talking it out with his dad. They resolve the whole issue, but he still is determined to keep it a lie that he and Alison aren't together. It doesn't make sense. It just shows that he's addicted to lying.
Yeah. he's gonna break it. He's gonna take her to a houseboat, whether she likes it or not, in the future,
Guys.
and then they can break the news about it. But that's like sort of the wacky close, which is also like a tone that this show will not sustain in the future. Is that kind and level of wackiness?
You know what? There are a couple of characters who I do think continue the wackiness. I do think Michael is pretty wacky throughout.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. There are certain characters who are slightly less wacky, but
I think there's just that Amanda tone.
Yes.
That it's like acid for wackiness. It just dissolves.
Well,
it.
she really does ground everything.
Yeah,
like she's an actual adult and has a job and it's So you're absolutely right. She does kind of Sorry.
Yeah. We're talking about where the show really picks up steam in the future with Heather Locklear, but that's not episode 7. There's just so much with Billy. This all starts with him sulking over a napkin.
Oh my God, you're right. He is walking around with no shirt on, and then he goes, "Oh, the apartment looks different." And Alison's like, "Yeah, because I cleaned up." And you do see his crap just everywhere. What was that, sir? That was hysterical.
We've been invaded.
The
by
cat, your kitty
McLean
just threw the razor down. I love it. But yeah, Billy looks like a bad roommate. Looks like he's being a bad roommate. She tried to clean up, and his whole argument was he had some notes scribbled on a napkin.
For a short story also, by the way, guys, like the stakes of he lost his idea for a short story.
His idea
as someone who has written short stories, I can tell you, super low. That was. But this is Billy sulking. This is what we expect. This is what we will see from him. He sulked last episode. He sulks again.
Yes.
He's a sulker.
He's a bit of a sulker.
You know what, guys? I think it's time for a commercial break.
That sounds good to me.
And when we come back, I maybe want to get into Alison.
Let's get into
Stick
her.
with us, guys, and enjoy the commercial.
It's a big sale at Rick's Gremlin Supply and Removal, formerly Rick's Gremlin Removal and Supply. It's your old friend Rick, and I've got too many gremlins. So this weekend only, I'm offering gremlins at a deep, deep discount. You won't believe our prices. Gremlins are flying out the door. Not literally, we don't stock bat gremlins. Want a gremlin and don't got one? Call Rick. Got a gremlin and don't want one? Call Rick at Rick's Gremlin Supply and Removal, formerly Rick's Gremlin Removal and Supply.
Why, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back from our commercial break. This is still Melrose Madness. This is still Lisa. I am still Wayne. And I think we covered what a big asshole Billy was in this episode.
Oh, yes.
I want to go on a journey with you through the opening interaction between Billy and Alison, because I have some questions, and you often kind of cut through to what's really going on with these things.
Thank you.
So, it's a series of questions that I have.
Love
In
this.
this opening scene where we see Billy and Alison, maybe we can start off with this. Billy's an asshole in this episode. He's the biggest asshole in this episode. And one of the ways he is there are like a half dozen, 8-9 cups from coffee. He just, each new pour is a new mug, and it's left for Alison to wash. That's Billy all over, though. That's like, tell me about Billy without telling me about Billy. Look at these mugs. That's just today.
Just today, shirtless,
Shirtless.
laying around. Or no, actually, was he laying around, or was he like looking for something? Was he looking for his note at the beginning?
No. It was when he heard she cleaned. He looked for the note. He was laying around sulking because, not that it matters, but the free weekly he wrote for folded.
No, that actually totally matters because.
Oh, sorry.
So no. I mean, not to. I don't want to undercut you undercutting yourself. Far be it from me. I thought you actually made a salient point. The thing is, you're actually right because he. So then the timeline here is, he's upset and sad about his thing being cut, meaning he had not noticed for a while that Alison had cleaned the apartment, right? So he's sitting there sulking. There is no urgency on this man's part to work on this short story. He didn't even think about the short story. He's just
I'm
laying
going to
around.
repeat again. Lowest stakes possible for a writer is that your idea for a short story got borked.
My haiku inspiration was taken from me.
Like, the short story is a great form, but come on.
Allison, I was going to write that limerick tomorrow. Good Lord, now I don't know what I was going to say.
All right.
He doesn't write anything.
So with that all being the pretext, I'm going to work backwards with questions. Allison rushes out the door, partly wanting to get away from Billy.
Yeah.
And the phone's ringing.
No,
This is the phone's ringing starts to unravel a lot of things for me. She says, "Tell them I'm on my way."
To whoever's calling.
To work is the rest of that
Presumably.
sentence. She's going to work now. How late do you have to be for... How late is Allison is the question. Because
That is a great question.
if you think that you're leaving when work is calling, wondering why you ain't there, you're really fucking late, dude.
My thought is you're at least half an hour late already and you haven't left. Because...
And by the way,
actually,
hang a lantern on it, because Allison being late to work is totally a thing in the series, but go ahead.
Okay, you know what? Actually, I'm wrong. I was a receptionist. As a receptionist, you have to be there before anybody else, because if something, I don't even know, if people goes to an answering machine, then you're already in trouble.
So she should have been there 15 minutes ago, say.
100%. She's already late.
Like, let's not even get to travel time in LA, how it was then. There's the, the beam everywhere in LA was 20 minutes.
Actually, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Who's calling her?
She's
the phone operator. She's the one placing the call. She's helping connect.
In her mind, that is a sub question. In her mind, who is it who would be calling from work to ask where she was? That bothers me. But on top of it, oh please.
Sorry, I will say one theory. Allison is such a self-important individual that I think she's just assuming that at any point someone's curious about where she is on her way to work. I really think that's
she's
more
self-involved
than
enough.
She's
knowing
so
that
self-involved.
The gravity of that will pull in interest from others.
Yes, apologies. You had a second part of this.
How are you late? So late. How are you not left 15 minutes after your shift started when your ass woke up early to clean?
Oh,
and she's still effing cleaning.
Do you think it's a passive
See,
aggressive?
what is still okay? If in her mind, sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
I was gonna say, do you think that's a passive aggressive thing where it's like there's no way she's actually late. She's like, tell them I'm on my way. I'm late. Remember how I told you that I cleaned? This is your fault. I don't know. I feel like maybe
I
that
wouldn't
could be
put
a
it past
possibility.
her. I feel like Allison and martyrdom go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and Billy.
Peanut butter and Billy. It's another T-shirt we're gonna do.
You
Limited
know
edition
it.
peanut butter and Billy.
Mancini original.
So then the actual phone call, 2 rings, and then the answering machine picks up. Okay, if you put it on 1 ring, you mean I never mean to pick up. You put it on 3 to 5. This is a different era, kids. There weren't voicemails that came to you wherever you were on the planet. There was home base where someone could call you at that one phone, and if you weren't there, at some point you might have a tape recording thing that then the person could leave a message. It's like voicemail, only it mattered more.
I have theories.
Okay.
So
But two rings before voicemail. What is that?
a loser. Because you are so close to the phone that the minute it goes off,
Allison's like-
you're like this, you're like,
It's like
yes, I'll go to that party.
It's
she doesn't have anyone that she knows really outside of the apartment complex. Nobody's calling.
So
this
she's got
person.
some hand speed
She's
going for
always
the
within
cradle
reach.
of that.
She ain't
son
going
of
to
a
a Hollywood party.
This is what I
showing
mean.
up drunk at the complex.
This is and right. She turned down the chance to go to Matt's party in the Hollywood Hills before too. She's no fun at all.
You're so right. I forgot about that.
I think about her all the time. But this is why I love this is why I love going through these questions, because I am getting some insight here. But I guess the last one is just that Billy's not on the outgoing message after all this time.
Oh my god! I am not surprised.
And
She
it
would
actually-
never let him do one, because you know why? Here's the thing. He's
Billy, you're messing it up.
he
Joke,
goes,
sorry.
oh, Alison, you gotta give me some creative license. He's the asshole who's like, we're gonna do this scripted bit, and
Yeah.
he's like, don't worry, I'm gonna write it. I scribbled on a cocktail napkin this idea for an outgoing message for the two of us, and she's like, "Guess what? We're leaving the one I had." And I've never allowed a roommate to be on the outgoing message, and I'm not starting now.
It's another thing that has a post-it with her name on it.
Exactly.
I mean,
This is why he kidnaps her.
that then. So we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I will note that then I think, who's leaving the message? You ask, Mrs. Campbell. Mrs. Campbell has called to get Billy and remind him about the birthday dad dinner, and left the message on a machine that just says Alison's not here. So really, in the mind of his parents, he's already living with a woman who fell in love with him because his script at the literary agency was so good. It's just, that's the kind. There's where my brain goes, and I feel like that there's nothing to be had there. It's just that, like, sloppiness. Of thought behind, like, the story, but, like, unfortunately, because there's so many other ways the show contains multitudes, my brain wants to fill in and make these things coherent that just can't be.
I think that the thing that's really fun is, you're right, it is not coherent. It never is. So it's really fun to explore what the logic would have to be in order for us to end up at this place.
That's what's happening. Yeah. Well put.
So I want to ask you a couple questions, because you have a better memory about these things than I do, I feel like. So in the message in the lie of their relationship, do the parents know that they live together?
That's what I'm saying. If they do, it's weird. I mean, they kind of must, if she's leaving a message for Billy on an answering machine that only says Alison.
I was going to say,
his girlfriend.
Not acknowledged. So either they think that either the relationship's not that serious, and he's, like, there's something so funny about the outgoing message that doesn't, because, like, kids, what you don't know is, you could share a repository for voicemails, essentially, but to let you know the etiquette of the time, you kind of acknowledge who lives at that place. Like, back in the day, you would be like, "Hi, you've reached for us, it was the Timmons family residence." And, you didn't list off the names or anything, but, like, when I had roommates, in college, it was both of our names on there. It's a real weird move. If they're thinking that she lives with him, she's not acknowledging him. That's already so fishy. And that's the primary number that Billy's using to talk to his parents. Like, it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think this does speak to, this is a theme throughout. Technology is just completely ignored in this show. Like, they do the wackiest stuff. I mean, when I think of, guys, I am not going to spoil this, but there is an invention that happens.
Yeah.
The technology of which just seems like we're talking Acme level cartoonish buffoonery. That's part of what is a joy of this show, is that, like, the technology, the geography, the logic never holds up. And
that one is so fun.
We love living here.
We love living in the Melrose televisual universe.
I do.
Multiverse, pardon me, the MTM, as I like to call it. So talking about
Interesting.
all this
I couldn't resist. So good. I think now my new thing is just trying to make producer Ilana laugh in camera.
She's got a wonderful laugh, among many other wonderful qualities.
You guys don't know this is very rewarding. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I think talking about this weirdness with Alison, right? We got to the bottom to it, which is there is no answer. We're just chasing a phantom. But so we want to talk about what the worst thing Alison did. That's fun. That's always nice. And maybe just gaffing, like, her D&D colleagues is one candidate. I personally didn't like that when Billy came home defeated after his first day at the grindstone at Campbell and Sons Furniture, that Alison's move to break the tension is to do some bit about junk mail, like, "Oh, you might be the winner," and it's like, fashion-wise, it's worth noting that she's kind of dressed as, like, the comedian Paula Poundstone.
Oh my gosh, that's right, yes.
The big blue blazer. Anyways, I didn't like that. I thought that was bad behavior. I thought that was her. for an episode that was light on Alison assholery, that was some assholery. And then we can talk about the last scene of the show to kind of start to wrap things up, which is when Billy comes home from his rapprochement with William, not William Sr., because Billy's name is just Billy, of course.
Billiam.
We've settled that Billy is a Billy. He comes upon Allison doing a nice little night barbecue. Nice little night barbecue.
Oh yes, this is hands down the worst thing she does in this episode, and it's to victims unseen.
She has moved as producer Ilana, who is geography,
Geography queen.
the dean of the queen of geography for this podcast.
Geography queen.
We are sharing the same dream, is what's great about it. We don't even need to weird Al the lyrics too much, but is that this has been moved, this has been dragged over, so it's more convenient for her, so it's outside her door, or potentially because the smoke from the barbecue is going straight up to the apartment upstairs
And
that we believe to be the apartment of the only unknown members of this complex, the extras from episode 1 when Jake was
Just
manhandling
rushed in
Kelly. These people whom we've intuited over time, we're building up. They've got a special, like it's the whole Cylind crab disc, like. Do I go by the horny Mancini, the fake horny Mancinis?
I gotta get to work!
Whatever Jake's doing with his motorbike at the moment, or whatever Allison's doing
The
with her
washing machines
behavior.
are never free!
It's a real nightmare there.
Wait, but can I also say? So
I want
you guys
it. I
also
want it.
rightfully pointed out, geography-wise, this is the same poor neighbors who've had to deal with this weird trash deposits over on the same side of the building. And another thing I'd like to point out is that barbecue is so filthy. It is disgusting. You know the smoke coming off that thing is just disgustingly like, none of these fools are cleaning anything. She's too pooped from cleaning all those damn mugs that Billy left around. She's like, I'm not going to be
It's a
cleaning
long
this
day
barbecue.
for Allison. Yeah, no. She
God.
used up the last of her energy dragging it over and doing her night barbecue, which, by the way, why? It's such strange behavior.
Wait for the midnight, in case anybody got hungry after a midnight swim.
But we all know a midnight swim is just fucking Jake. Although it would be fun if someone fucked Jake and came out in a robe to get some meat from Allison off the grill. Producer Ilana, can we have the quotations? Oh, you know what? Really briefly. Not great extras of the week this time, but
I'll
for
take the
those
quotation, hold on to it.
for
though.
those who are inclined at 4125.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
There
I
are
like this a lot.
there are busts right over Billy's shoulder as he's hashing things out about how he has to do things his way with his dad, and we just got this total vibe that at 4125 these busts are like kind of gossiping, kind of judging the Campbell men.
Yeah,
There was an
William
energy.
And William.
Yeah. William, not senior, and Billy / Billiam. And you can just see that they're like these assholes.
They were judging them
like the brain power it takes to
to run this furniture store.
All right, we always like to close the show with quotations. So Melrose Maniacs, we've got 3 this time around. We just to really as an example of the assholery that we see on display in this episode. At least let's do what we do. If you want to do the line, but I will set it up that it's Rhonda speaking to Sandy after, I will note, being very unsupportive.
I tried to be supportive. I love that because here's the thing. This doesn't require proof. Trying to do something, you can always say that you try to do something.
My notes on this had all caps gaslighting.
Is
Is that overdoing it?
You know what? Here, gaslighting is close. I feel like, it really is just lying. If you're being honest with yourself, you know you did it. Because, listen, hey, Wayne, before we came over here, I tried to do the splits. But what I really did was not.
It was not.
You can't, either you do something or you don't. You tried to be supportive.
Yoda said that.
No, you did, exactly. And it was in that exact
cadence.
Okay, exactly. The
No,
what's
it's
the
just
word?
you nailed it. It's like
Like
It's-
Jake
it's-
in the
it's-
beginning with a drunk Sandy. I tried to be consensual, but then I realized this lady was stone cold drunk, and actually also she pretended.
not so drunk. Not
I tried.
She must have been drunk enough to consent secretly because she emphatically did not, as that turned out.
Yeah, and also I'm really mad that we did not get to see that party. Now that I know that it wasn't a casting couch situation.
This is the second time we've now had a bitchin' party that was probably more interesting than anything that happened in the episode that happened all off screen.
And instead, we're left with what Alison was
Al-
doing.
we're left-
She's like waiting by the phone. Ring, ring.
Allison.
Oh my god! It almost went to
Al-
voicemail.
Allison racing the answering machine, night barbecuing, and working up a tight 3 on junk mail that Billy gets to listen to. So the next quotation is Billy to Allison, and he's talking here about lying to her and kidnapping her away
Oh my
to Palm
God.
Springs under false auspices.
Mm-hmm.
Humiliating? You should be flattered.
Oh my god!
But that's Billy. That is the most privileged thing you could say, right? That like the fact that I bothered at all. I chose you to be my fake girlfriend for purposes that served me not. And also knowing now that you, Allison, my dear, are the one that I lied to my parents and said that you're my girlfriend this whole time, and that you're a character detail you're going to have to absorb is that you fell in love with me because of my great writing. So, Allison, all of that is like a compliment basically to you.
From
How do you receive that news?
from the poetic genius that brought you, she was a real bitch. Let us not forget that Billy's
I'm
attempts
dying.
to bring Allison onto his side
Sorry for swearing.
please do not apologize. You're totally within your rights. He, at the beginning of this episode, flops a giant pile of flowers onto her desk as if to say, here, you're welcome. Proceeds to tell her, I know roses are your favorite.
Guess
and
what?
she
Those
goes,
flowers.
These are
Sorry.
carnations. And the thing is, I'm usually very anti-Allison.
I was taking the point of view that was Allison the know-it-all coming out. But Lisa,
Why
won the
would
day.
you tell me that you know what my favorite flowers are and you put carnations on here? That is a flex. That's a message. That's going, bitch, I know what you like. This is what you're going to get. And also, I'm about to throw you in a car and drive you somewhere where you're going to end up having to sleep in a bed with me. My mother's going to spank you on the butt, pushing you towards me on the bed where I'm laying with a penis flap open on my boxers.
There is Dick Flap Shadow we can confirm.
He could not be
We should have a time code for that. Next time we have anything like Dick Flap Shadow.
Dick Flap
Make
Shadow.
sure that I have a time code for that.
You got my Dick
'Cause
Flap
yeah,
Shadow.
like that. These were you're now covering the last few elements of Billy's assholery that we didn't even get to. But yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
It connects to everything.
It is monumental.
Oh
the
my
sight of
God.
Billy. Hands behind head, right? And listeners, imagine now that I have my hands behind my head, annoying potentially a cat, just like very comfortable on top of the sheets, with nothing but boxers. With again, we can say, open to the breeze, dick flap.
Can I also say,
And so his whole energy is, you've done me wrong by not doing well enough with the lie I sprung on you. So now,
roommate?
look what you're going to have to deal with. You feel secure in that robe of yours.
By the way, please remember, dear viewers, dear listeners, this physical
I'm gonna cry.
posture is the one he is comfortable maintaining when his mother pushes his girlfriend in the room towards him, presumably to have sex. You know how I know that? Because she patted that lady on the buns. By the way, guys, not as a spoiler alert, but You should know that this is so triggering for this particular character. I'm not going to get into it, but like looking back as somebody who knows what I know, I can't unforget what I know about this. But this
episode doesn't
insane.
deserve a spoiler episode, and yet everything is this is the
yes,
everything is everything with Melrose Place.
Oh, just
it's Melrose, even when it's not quite what it was going to become. It's still kind of Melrose Places all the way down.
Yes,
Am I making any sense at all?
You are, because here's the thing. Themes, just find them. Patterns emerge. You can't help but show the truth of these characters throughout the course of it. I think it's weird. Guys, this is going to sound crazy because this is a silly little soap opera, but really, if you watch it all the way through and you rewatch it like we have, it is so weird, the foreshadowing that you see with certain characters, because I feel like there's just these weird subconscious things the writers don't realize that they may be wrestling with.
No way they could have known that they were going there with that.
There are a lot of people in that room whose fathers swindled their mothers. And they are working this shit out on the air, It's like...
It is really majestic. Some of the templates...
Majestic is the right word.
It's, there, it does... I don't want to... I tend to over-intellectualize things. I'm going to have some water, because a little my tongue did.
I tend to under-intellectualize things.
But I feel like it's the way that tropes manifest themselves and evolve on Melrose Place. It feels like kind of like a very specific and very weird, like kind of like, I'm going to use the word myth.
I don't know what that means.
Like sort of like a fundamental. You know how it's like across many mythologies, Earth began with water. Right?
There's a lot of sort of principles that are...
There are certain things that seem to maybe be like natural building blocks of how we make meaning about ourselves in the world.
Yes.
And what we attribute to the divine follows like certain... And the Greek myth and hubris and like Aesop, I don't know. But like it's this sort of mutated weird like, well, here's a lady trying to be successful in the world. Obviously, what that's bred from is a total swindler of a dad who's, also possibly a creep and will actively fuck his daughter over.
Well, you know what?
And that's just kind of, that in its way is Melrose Place's view of humanity.
You are so correct, because I'm reminded of a joke.
Thank you for that.
Oh, no, but you're absolutely right.
Because
the joke that I was going to make was, I joked about tarot cards. And we've kind of come full circle, because what you sort of described is like each character does represent this sort of like soap opera tarot card in a way of like, there are humans have storytelling like methods that have stood the test of time, and there's certain types of characters that we just the trickster, and exactly that's why all like these themes I think kind of pop up no matter what, because they're just true of humanity.
I think I've already got stuff in mind now that you said that. Something we're going to do going forward is maybe like some like, well, this is now, Michael as an avatar of...
Yes! We can start doing
like... I mean, let's just say Loki, for instance.
100%! That's like, exactly what I was thinking of.
Like MCU or not, the mythology or not, a mischievous fellow. That's what we can look forward to. Guys, I don't know. I feel like we have done it and done it to death.
Yeah, do you have a final quote you want me to
We do have a final quote. I think we'll throw this one to you. And, Sandy's journey here. I just feel like...
wow.
Yeah, the way I caption this is Sandy to Jake being wrong. Sandy.
Maybe that's why I became an actress. The only time I have any real feelings is when I'm making pretend someone else.
And this is in the middle of an emotional outpouring. Like, she's not crying at that moment, but she has cried. So it is like, right. Sandy feels everything. Sandy is good-hearted. And, like, she keeps saying these things, like, it's a little bit like, I think, again, the immune system of Melrose Place is not reacting well with her. And yes, Amy Locane is sort of like
She's an odd fit.
She's an odd fit to this. Also, this. They said we'll include a Southern girl, and all they could do is like take from Tennessee Williams. It's not even like.
Bless her little heart.
It is perhaps another example of the lack of imagination with these folks. But yeah, like the things Sandy says about herself don't wash with her actions in the least, and it's actually like kind of poignant to me, like the same way we see Rhonda
Yes.
as this kind of very vibrant personage in the show that doesn't quite know what to do with her. You know, that they're both in that area. And, I mean, and not to get into huge spoiler territory, but just that like I almost feel for Sandy, and I realize I'm monologuing as we're trying to close it out, but I kind of, it's not even Amy Locane kind of, it's sort of the, the Sandy of it all. I feel bad that they made this good-hearted Southern girl and didn't know how to properly shape her for their soap and tried to push her into these weird shapes and never did her justice.
I completely agree with you, because what ended up happening, Sandy and Rhonda both represent actual kinds of people who live in Los Angeles. Because everything else at that point, they kind of tried to keep it grounded in reality for a little bit. Yeah. But for whatever reason, those two characters did not jive for them. Because you don't need to be in Los Angeles to be working at an advertising agency or a hospital. It's not unique to here, but they are professions where the fact that you could actually make a living off just teaching workout classes. Back then, fitness was not such a widespread trend that it would have been a reality. So, though you're really actually seeing that this is just going, they made an attempt. That, to me, is the final vestige of the Beverly Hills 90210 phenomenon. Like, they are no longer acknowledging the reality of Los Angeles. They are now creating the Melrose universe.
Beautiful. Lisa, I'm glad that we got through my things because we can get to your thing.
You know what? You're very sweet, but know that I couldn't have gotten to my thing without your thing.
No, I want to close on that because I think it was just a wonderful insight. Cheers, guys. This has been Melrose Madness, Season 1, Episode 7. As usual, I just send you all my thanks for being and listening this far into the podcast. Again, we're just kind of screaming to the void without you.
Thank you.
And Lisa, thank you.
Thank you. This was so nice.
But yeah, bye guys.
You're right. This is madness.